How's it going, guys? Cody, guys, back again, dropping yet another video. Right, guys, you saw me do a vlog. The last vlog that I did is below, and it was about the walkout that took place yesterday now at HMP Liverpool, or Walton Jail, or the Mansion on the Hill as it's affectionately known. And it was prison officers walked out in support of their colleague who had just been sacked after 26 years as a prison officer after preemptively striking a prisoner. Now, he was no further action by the police, but that's neither here nor there, guys. If you've got a prisoner who's obviously a criminal and he's in prison or he's on remand and he says that he's been assaulted by an officer, the police just believe the prison officer and there's no further action, and that's the way it goes. So it was no further action by the police, but he was sacked by the prison service, which for me is the right thing to do. Too many prison officers are putting their hands on prisoners and it never sees the light of day, because apparently it doesn't happen. Anyway, the Ministry of Justice have issued their own statement in regards to the walkout. It's very short, guys. I'm going to bring that to you now. Link in the description below, like I always do. Headline reads, Ministry of Justice responds to Liverpool HMP officer walkout. Surely the headline should have been Ministry of Justice responds to HMP Liverpool officer walkout. Anyway, the Ministry of Justice has released a statement in response to Liverpool prison officers staging a walkout in protest at the unjust sacking of a colleague. In a statement, a prison service spokesperson said, "It is irresponsible for the Prison Officers Association to encourage its members to take this unlawful action, which puts the safety of staff and prisoners at risk. We are urgently seeking an injunction from the courts requiring the POA, or the Prison Officers Association, to cease its action and staff to comply with the Governor's directions to return to work. Contingency plans have been enacted and additional staff have been deployed to Liverpool. The prison is secure and there is no risk to the wider public. Prison officers have the right to use proportionate preemptive force, and related disciplinary investigations only take place where there are concerns that the force could have been excessive and potentially unlawful." The Prison Officers Association said the officer, who has 26 years of service, was cleared of any wrongdoing by police after an investigation into an incident with an inmate. Staff say they fear for their personal safety and accuse local management of refusing to provide them with any assurances. Right, what a load of crap. Right. This is the thing, guys, yeah? Preemptive strike. So if a prisoner felt that a prison officer was being aggressive in his nature and the prisoner struck him in a preemptive strike, what would that be classed as, guys? Do you think it'd be classed as preemptive, or do you think it'd be classed as assault? Because it'd be classed as an assault, and he'd be arrested, he'd get a nick in, and I won't even be surprised if they got the police in rather than dealing it with via adjudication. This is the thing, yeah. These prison officers, guys, right, lobbied for the smoking ban, which antagonising prisoners, poking them with a stick, because the reality is tobacco has been used as a stress relief in prisons, and also as currency for probably centuries, decades, centuries, you know what I mean? By banning smoking, which the Prison Officers Association lobbied for, even going as far as threatening to pull a judicial review of the prison service, they've antagonised prisoners, right, which would see an increase in violence, as we know. By banning smoking, by banning tobacco, doesn't just disappear. All it matters, all that happens, gets pushed on the ground. The price goes up 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times what it did before. Where you've got contraband, mobile phones, SIM cards, new psychoactive substances, drugs, prescription drugs, and tobacco, you've got debt. Where you've got debt, you've got fear, intimidation, bullying, and violence. What do you think is going to happen? The prison service and the prison officers, the Prison Officers Association, lobbied for it. They've used that increase in violence to stage a walkout last year, and then when this officer's hit a fucking prisoner, they now, oh, it's disgusting, he had 26 years of service. Regardless, don't care if you've had 26 years of service or 26 months of service within the prison service. If you hit somebody, you deserve to feel the full consequences. I'm not having this preemptive strike bollocks, right? Absolute nonsense. Right, and like I say, you got no further action by the police. That doesn't mean nothing, guys. That means absolutely fuck all. Right, all it means really is, say he was in a single cell, 2 officers, 3 officers have gone in, mob-handed, fucked him up. He's put a complaint into his solicitor that he's been assaulted or twisted up. Right, The police get involved because obviously duty bound to, and then they say, well, there's no witnesses, there's 3 officers, so you're a prisoner, so we'll just believe the prison officers. That's how it goes, guys. So there's no further action. That is really neither here nor there. It's really, really not. This is happening, guys, in prisons and wings up and down the country. Let me tell you, preemptive strike, come on now. I mean, they try any way they can, prison officers, to justify assaulting prisoners. Now, I've got to flip the coin. Do prisoners assault prison officers? Yes, it does go on. Sometimes it's unjust, a lot of times it's warranted. And what I mean by warranted is sometimes it's a prisoner that's been twisted up by a prison officer. He's bided his time, and then he lashes out at that officer. A lot of prisoners, you've got to remember, guys, right? All these prison officers that join the service, right? Do they honestly not believe that they're going to be assaulted at some point? Because if they don't, why do you think they spend a week of their 9 weeks, count it 9, right? Weeks training. Why is 1 week dedicated solely to control and restraint training? They've also getting powder spray, guys, in public sector prisons in England and Wales, right? They've also getting rigid bar handcuffs. They've already got extendable batons, right? The NTRGs, or the National Tactical Response Groups, right? Or the Tornado Squads, right? They're actually armed, trained and armed with tasers, but they're not actually authorised to use it. So what was the point in giving some? If you're not authorised to use it, what's the point in having it on you? See what I'm saying? If it was down to the Prison Officers Association, guys, they would have their members, prison officers, armed with tasers in prison. And like I say, you've got to look, right? So say you've got a prisoner that's got, like, he's got mental health issues, right? He might be having a psychotic episode. He's not in charge of his own actions. He's smashing his cell up. The prison officers open his door, put a red dot on his chest, right? He's not physically able to comply with their verbal order, right? This is a hypothetical situation. So what's going to happen? They'll taser him, drag him down the seg. It's going to cost lives. That's what they want, guys. The Prison Officers Association National Chair, go on Google and type in POA tasers. See what comes up. They want it, guys. They want it. If it was up to Mark Fairhurst, who's the National Chair of the Prison Officers Association, who conveniently is a trained NTRG officer, National Tactical Response Group officer, Tornado Squad, right? Officer, that's what he does. He wants it to kick off in prison, so him and his boys can put a load of riot gear, go into prisons and fuck prisoners up with, like I say, stun grenades and stuff like that. And then he wants to taser people. Simple as that. You don't do that job unless you want it to kick off. They don't sit there thinking, oh, well, I hope it doesn't kick off. They want it to kick off, let me tell you, so they can use their training, right, which they're just going to fuck prisoners up. That's the reality, guys. That is the reality. You're housing some of the most vulnerable and susceptible people in prison, human warehousing people. What do you expect? The prisons are overcrowded, right? Prison officers took smoking, or, well, not just prison officers, but lobbied for the smoking ban, right, which antagonised prisoners. They've used that increase in violence then to stage a walkout last year, which they got, I think it was a 3.5% pay rise. Powder spray piloted in 4 prisons, which didn't quell violence, but they still rolled it out nationally anyway, which is ridiculous in public sector prisons. They got rigid bar handcuffs, they've got batons. Arming officers, guys, isn't going to quell violence. If anything, it's going to increase violence long term. Fight fire with fire. And the prison system's a powder keg as it is. For me, it's going to go off. And like I say, the POA, they're like a kid in a supermarket. They get told no, they spit the dummy out, and they kick and scream in the aisle. Right? They keep walking out. When a prison officer or the Prison Officers Association tell people to walk out, it's actually banned industrial action. It's actually banned. But for me, in my honest opinion, as a former prisoner, the Prison Officers Association have got the prisons minister and the Justice Secretary, David Gauke, over a barrel. Whatever they want, they can get, because if they walk out and refuse to turn to work, do you know what I mean? The prison will not function. Like I say, it's a sad state of affairs, guys. It is what it is. I'm interested to know from you guys, what do you guys think about this story? Like I say, I'm not condoning attacks on officers. No. I've got to be sensible. But at the same time, I understand completely why they happen. Anyone that thinks prison officers are whiter than white and they don't do anything wrong are absolutely clueless. There's good officers. There's a lot of good officers. I've done this in interviews, I've actually spoken up for prison officers in the past. I'm stopping doing that, though. I don't do that anymore, simply because this bad faction. I don't like the POA. I really don't. They're not asked. You see Mark Thurhurst, right, tweeting about, we want it safe for prisoners. Google Mark Thurhurst, Guantanamo Bay. Guantanamo-style jumpsuits, right? He wants prisoners in 23 hours a day locked up. When we come out, he wants to have us all chained together like a fucking chain gang, right? He wants tactical use of taser. He wants us, like I say, he doesn't want anything for prisoners. He wants to go back to the age, like back in the old days, like fucking chain gangs and stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? It's 2019, man. He's a nasty, horrible guy. And like I say, they don't give a shit about prisoners. Every time he tweets about prisoners, I tell him to shut his fucking mouth, because he hasn't got the right to speak up for prisoners. I speak up for prisoners, and many other people do as well. I'm nobody, but I'm an ex-con, and I speak up and highlight prisoners' plights and prisoners' families' plights. That's what we do. Prison officers, they're not the enemy, guys, but when I read these sorts of stories, for me, they become the enemy, and it leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. And like I say, there's two sides to a story, guys. The prison officers and the prisoners. Oh shit. No one gets to hear the prisoner's version of events, do they? So they've got to take what the prison officer says as granted. And the prison officers are thick as thieves, and they will cover each other's back and alter statements and stuff so that they don't get sacked. Well, unfortunately, this guy, well, fortunately, sorry, not unfortunately, fortunately, he's been sacked after 26 years. Hopefully he loses his pension and everything that comes with it. Gross misconduct. But flipping the coin again, the relationship between the top brass in the prison, the governors, deputy governors and stuff, down to prison officers, is massive. You don't get support from the top. It's as simple as that. But like I say, I don't buy this preemptive strike, load of bollocks. Just another prison officer, heavy-handed, who wants to kick the shit out of a prisoner. Paid with his job, rightfully so. Leave it there. Like, comment, subscribe. It's not about what I think, it's about what you think. If you ring the bell down below, you'll be notified every time I drop a video. Get yourself some ibuprofen and a lie down in a dark room, because I fucking saw it, mate. Leave it there. Like, comment, subscribe. Cody out.